Penn State going on the road to USC. Penn State is a 5-point favorite here in the Coliseum out in Cali. 47.5 is the over under. The first thing I think about whenever we talk about this football game is the physicality that Penn State is going to bring to the table here, Mason. Um, it's been a really physical football team that's been at Penn State for year in and year out for several years now. And the very first game that I think about and I kind of compare this to, the first thing that pops in my head is USC going and playing Notre Dame last season with Caleb Williams. That's the first thing that pops into my head. And if you guys don't remember, USC went on the road to Notre Dame. Notre Dame was kind of middling around, not doing that well, right? And you're like, wow, Caleb Williams is going to go in there, probably light them up. The lines of scrimmage were way too much for USC that day. They lose by like 40 points. And while I don't think that Penn State goes on the road and wins by 40 points here, it seems like a mismatch physicality wise. Eric Gentry gone off of this defense. I guess he's hurt, or I
Yeah.
don't know if he redshirted or got hurt or whatever. Bear Alexander, he quit. He's a quitter. He quit on his team. He's gone. You USC fans, you know, call it whatever you want. He quit, and that, whether you think he's really good or you don't think he's really good, the statistics from last year don't lie. He was a big part of that defensive line and was a big part of the game plan going forward. So as I look at this matchup, I'm trying to find ways in which USC can win here, and I just don't see a ton of them. I really don't. It's going to have to be through the passing game. It's going to have to be USC connecting down the field, and with this Penn State defense, I don't know about that, man. I just don't really know if that's going to be able to happen. Are they going to have time to let plays develop down the field? I think Penn State can bring the base package on defense here and not have to bring a lot of extra bodies and play defense that way. So what what do you think about this matchup? What do you think about Penn State here and USC? What can USC do to have any kind of edge in this football game? I don't see a category in which they do.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough. I mean, physically up front, Penn State is clearly better on both sides of the football. Like Penn State's defensive line much better than USC's offensive line. Penn State's offensive line much better than USC's defensive line. Um, Nobody's doubting that. So what I think is going to happen in this football game is Penn State's just going to pretty much run the football at will and have these long methodical drives that end in 3 or 7 points. I don't think there's going to be a ton of punting from the Penn State side of the football when they're on offense. I think that I just don't feel like you're going to stop them and keep them out of the red zone. So the path for success for USC is to do the same thing on the offensive side of the football. Try to find ways to extend these drives and keep your defense fresh, right? They're going to get worn out because Penn State, I mean, statistically, that they have not had the big plays. I think we're as good as Drew Aller has been this year, and I think he has been pretty good. I think he's taken a small step in the right direction when it comes to the deep ball, and the big play potential. He looks better in Kotelnicki's offense, but still looking to see that big play potential. Some of that is due to the wide receiver play. They're 53rd in passing plays of 20 plus yards down the field. So I think if you're USC, you're looking at that and saying, okay, we feel like we can load the box, right? And just test Drew Aller to beat us over the top. Well, you're loading the box against a team that's probably just going to beat you, just
Yeah.
and put a hat on a hat, regardless of how many bodies you've got in the box. So I don't know if that's going to work, but that's probably is the best strategy. I mean, when you're talking about just from a play calling perspective, but the two running backs are phenomenal in this football game. They're two They've got 2 RB1s. Nick Singleton's 15th in the country, averaging 102 yards per game. And Katron Allen is 55th in the country with 73.4 yards per game. Collectively, they're 8th in the country in rushing yards of 10 or more, or 10 or more yards per play, I guess, or whatever. So they've been really effective. The receiving core for Penn State, I mean, there's not a receiver in the top 100 in total yards, and I think that's because they did not hit on Singer like they thought that they would, or excuse me, Fleming. They didn't hit on Fleming like they thought that they would, and there's nobody really behind them. Fleming is not a wide receiver one for this offense. He's just not. I don't think that they've got the tight ends like they've had in the past. For Penn State, there's really not a pass catching weapon. I think that the best pass catchers are the 2 running backs coming out of the backfield. So it's more ground and pound. As much as they are trying to manufacture the big plays down the field, it's a lot more ground and pound from Penn State. Kind of a lot of the same stuff there. But going back to USC, I mean, Miller Moss started the season playing really well. Had the big win against LSU, and that was really the best that his offensive line has played all season long was against LSU. Maybe that says a little bit more about LSU than we've really looked into. But since then, they haven't played well, and also since then, Miller Moss hasn't played well. He went from, I think it was like 77% completion or 73% completion down to like 66% completion in the past 3 games.
61. It's on the screen right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had my notes pulled up there. But yeah, I went from 72% to 61% in the last 3 games. So it hasn't been great here recently. And a lot of that's due to the offensive line and what they haven't been able to do up front for him. But he does have the pass catching weapons. I mean, they've got pass catchers. I really kind of struggle to figure out exactly, why they haven't been able to scheme some guys open. Miller Moss is not a dual threat quarterback, I wouldn't say, but he's not a pocket passer either. I mean, he's able to escape the pocket when he needs to, and extend the plays there a little bit. So it's a little bit of a surprise when guys like Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson, when they're not able to really go out and get involved as much as you would expect from a USC and a Lincoln Riley offense. But to me, if USC is going to win this football game, I mean, it's got to be it's going to have to be one up front with this offensive line. And I don't know how they're going to do it. It's a really tall task when you got guys like Abdul Carter, Zane Durant, Danny Dennis Sutton coming at you on the defensive line. I mean, those guys are for real. But somehow, some way, USC's got to find a way to block those dudes, because if not, I mean, we see what Miller Moss does when he's under duress. He kind of folds a little bit. So that's unfortunately, I mean, that's not a great game analysis. I mean, yeah, block your defenders and you'll win the football game, duh. But at the same time, it's how else are they going to win this football game? I don't see it. The offensive line has played that bad here recently that has to be the pressure point. You guys have to win up front. You got to put a hat on a hat, get to the next level, create some running lanes for Woody Marks, get something developed in the running game to keep the defense off of the football field, because I don't think that USC is going to just go out there and score every drive, even a field goal. Like, I don't think that they're going to push the ball like that. So when you can do it, you're going to have to kind of play a little bit slow. Don't do a lot of up tempo or anything like that. Keep the defense off the field. Give them a chance to turn the ball over and get you another possession or something like that.
I think this is a big opportunity for Penn State to flex their muscles on offense and show that they are better than what they were last season. And, looking at the statistics that we talked about for Drew Aller, nobody's made a jump over the last few years like he has as far as yards per pass attempt from year to year. Literally no one has made the jump that he's made. So I think that this offense is a little bit better. I'm worried about the lack of wide receivers. Does it matter in this football game? I don't think it matters because Penn State's going to be able to line up and get it how they want it. And here's some analysis for you. USC is soft on the lines. They're just soft. And Penn State is the opposite of soft. And I don't see this one being that particularly close, Mason. I think Penn State wins this thing by 10 points. The only thing that makes me hesitant is the fact that they got to go travel halfway across the damn globe to do it. That's the only thing that really worries me in this football game. It's a 3:30 p.m. game, so it's not like they're going to be going and playing a 10 o'clock game at USC or anything. So I don't think it is going to affect them all that much. And I think Penn State is going to be able to push USC all around the football field, and I think it gets pretty ugly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, nothing like I could see it happening, right? I could see USC winning this game in an upset fashion at home. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but
Look at that right there that ESPN's got.
Wow, that is absurd. 51% at USC is favored. Is that what that's
What
saying?
the? Yeah.
I don't get that at all.
Which don't ever follow matchup predictor on ESPN, people. Don't ever follow that because that thing, I mean, that thing's been wrong since day one. Y'all know how AI is. It can't even talk normal to you. It don't even know how to do like real, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a robot. You can tell it's a robot. This right here is
Yeah.
some machine that they threw together, and I just don't believe in it. 51.8% chance. There's a better chance that USC wins this football game. There's no way, dude.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. I mean, even if that matchup predictors taking into account home field advantage and things like that, I don't get that at all. I mean, it could happen again. Like I said, USC could very well win this football game, but nothing that they've done so far versus what Penn State has done so far indicates to me that Penn State shouldn't win this football game. They probably should cover. But I will say, similar to what we've talked about with Ohio State, Penn State hadn't played anybody. USC has at least beaten an LSU, but they also just lost to Minnesota. So I don't know. As far as where they're at right now, I feel like USC's kind of spiraling, just on and off the field, it seems like. And then Penn State's more of on an upward trajectory. They're in the top 5 for the first time, and I don't see anything that indicates to bet against Penn State right now in this football game. So I would say Penn State to cover in this one.
I think Abdul Carter has 3 or 4 sacks in this one. Give me Penn State.